our households, industries, and communities. Mr. Speaker, Botswana continues to make significant progress to strengthen cooperation in pursuit of regional integration and enhancing her presence in the air and aviation space. To this end, we continue to sign bilateral air service agreements with neighboring countries with a clear intention to improve connectivity. Mr. Speaker, the more accessible and seamless our air travel experience is, the more attractive our country becomes to international visitors. The government is actively pursuing strategic partnerships with regional and international airlines to establish more direct routes linking Botswana to key global tourism markets. In this effort, the Civil Aviation Authority of Botswana, in collaboration with Botswana Investment and Trade Center, the Hospitality and Tourism Association of Botswana, the Botswana Tourism Organization, Business Botswana, and Travel Agents Association of Botswana, is making significant progress in attracting long-haul airlines to our country. Mr. Speaker, as a result of these efforts, 2 new international routes have been introduced through the operations of Ethiopian Airlines and Fly Namibia. Improving quality of life. Mr. Speaker, a development budget of 9.81 billion is proposed for this priority, which includes strengthening human capital development, modernizing our education and healthcare systems, supporting vulnerable groups, as well as availing economic opportunities to ensure long-term prosperity and equality for all. Human capital development. Mr. Speaker, it is not a secret that we spend more on education and health than in any other sector. Over the last 4 financial years, from 2020-21 to 2023-24, the country spent on average 22% and 14% of total expenditure on education and health sectors respectively. However, we have not realized the full return on investment, which is testament to a rooted structural problem. Mr. Speaker, local institutions have produced graduates, often in areas not consistent with industry needs, and at a rate faster than our economic absorption capacity. This has contributed to youth unemployment, which currently stands at 38.4% in the first quarter of 2024. The importance of technical and vocational education and training, TVET. Mr. Speaker, there is a need to increase excellence of technical and vocational education and training institutions by leveraging on tried and tested TVET models in countries such as South Korea, Germany, and Finland. Statistics show that our TVET institutions are operating below optimal. We will be intentional in this new government in changing the current picture to build an economy with TVET at its heart. This requires us to change our people's perception of TVET institutions. It requires us to improve access and equity and quality and relevance of the programs to market needs. We are developing a robust technical and vocational education and training policy with an agenda anchored on various pursuits such as agriculture, jewelry, multimedia, artificial intelligence, sports, and manufacturing. Further, Botswana's transition to underground mining highlights opportunities for TVET skills development. Mr. Speaker, promoting TVET from basic education will therefore amplify opportunities for young people who are not able or not willing to follow the university education pathways. And in this regard, to demonstrate our commitment on the TVET model, we are gradually going to narrow the gap between allowances of students at TVET institutions and those of other tertiary institutions. We will also resource these TVET institutions in terms of infrastructure and qualified lecturers. Mr. Speaker, there is a disparity between our health needs and the capacity of our health system. Challenges such as outdated management systems, poorly maintained infrastructure, shortages of essential medicines, and inadequate staffing persist. Additionally, the government's failure to pay private medical facilities and commodity suppliers has pushed these critical stakeholders to the brink of collapse, further weakening our overall health system. To continue our pursuit of the United Nations Sustainable Development Goal number 3 of ensuring healthy lives and promoting well-being of all, we must act urgently. Mr. Speaker, in the short term, we will enhance access to essential medicines, diagnostics, and technologies by restructuring the central medical stores. We will invest in facilities and equipment maintenance. We will prioritize primary health care to reduce dependence on costly tertiary services. We will train health personnel to ensure optimal skills mix that aligns to our needs. We will optimize Seretse Masire Teaching Hospital as a center of excellence for tertiary care and medical training. Enhancing social welfare. Mr. Speaker, the true measure of a society lies in how it cares for its most vulnerable members, reflecting collective humanity and sense of justice. While fiscal constraints limit substantial increases in social welfare programs, we remain resolutely committed to inclusiveness and the well-being of our citizens. With this in mind, we propose, and we did everything we could, searched every pocket we could search. We could only increase, and we are proposing an increase of the old age pension Tandabala allowance from 830 pula to 1,400 effective. Effective from 1st April 2025. Mr. Speaker, consistent with our promises, we are proposing a targeted monthly allowance of 300 for newborn babies until they turn 1 year old. Additionally, we are proposing provision of free sanitary pads to female students, ensuring the dignity and essential needs are upheld across different segments of our population. As our economy regains its strength and our fiscal position improves, we are committed to revisiting social allowances, ensuring that resources are directed where they are most impactful and to the most deserving sections of our society. Mr. Speaker, in the spirit of transparency and fiscal responsibility, the estimated additional financial requirement for these new provisions has been fully accommodated through reprioritization and budget cuts within the existing allocations. Mr. Speaker, given the challenging economic environment, we remain firmly committed to disciplined public finance management. Going forward, our approach will be guided by the principle that any increase in government expenditure must be offset by either a corresponding rise in revenue or reductions elsewhere in the budget. I wish to once again reassure the people of Botswana that this government, led by the courageous advocate Boko, remains fully committed to improving their welfare and delivering on its promises. Our immediate focus is on laying the institutional foundations for a revitalized, modern, deep, and export-driven economy that generates high-paying opportunities for all its citizens. We trust that Botswana will allow us the space to steer this nation towards long-term prosperity, ensuring that any commitments we fulfill are meaningful, lasting, and sustainable. Innovation and digital transformation. Mr. Speaker, our development budget of 1.47 billion is proposed to support innovation and digital transformation. This budget will, among others, fast-track the delivery of the National Digital Transformation Strategy, Smart Boards, with a view to accelerate digital transformation across government, the economy, and society at large. Mr. Speaker, in order to achieve this initiative, government aims to close the connectivity gap across the country through implementation of the Village Connectivity Program. To this end, Phases 2, 3, and 4 of the Village Connectivity Program, that is connecting over 1,000 public facilities across different villages, will be completed during 25-26 financial year. Mr. Speaker, during 2025-26 financial year, government will connect 500 schools to the internet. Government will expand the connectivity of private research and education institutions through Botswana Research and Education Network. And government will roll out the digital competency framework aimed at building digital literacy. Mr. Speaker, in our efforts to diversify the economy and transition to an innovation, knowledge, export-inspired economy, the Botswana government has entered into a 5-year collaboration with the Massachusetts Institute of Technology. This partnership aims to drive development of innovation-driven enterprises. Under this agreement, MIT, Massachusetts Institute of Technology, will work with the Botswana University of Science and Technology, BUST, the Botswana Digital and Innovation Hub, and other entities to create programs that will strategically transform Botswana's entrepreneurial ecosystem. Mr. Speaker, the program was launched in November 24, and by its conclusion, we expect to have established a vibrant innovation ecosystem that fosters an enabling environment for both current and future generations of entrepreneurs to thrive. Mr. Speaker, the Bank of Botswana is at an advanced stage of digitalizing government revenue collection. This project, once fully operational, will eliminate challenges associated with cash handling and reconciliation concerning government accounts. In alignment with the National Digital Transformation Strategy, it will also expedite digital adaptation within the government sector and among users of government services. Some of the benefits to be derived relate to increased efficiency, reduced manual intervention, and facilitation of real-time processing of government transactions. Mr. Speaker, Botswana continues to make strides in modernizing its financial infrastructure with the establishment of the ongoing National Retail Payments Switch, NRPS. This, Mr. Speaker, represents a significant step towards enhancing Botswana's payment systems, contributing to economic transformation, as well as aligning with national and regional financial inclusion goals. This transformative initiative is central to the country's efforts and commitment to leveraging technology for sustainable development and economic inclusion. Mr. Speaker, the interoperable RPS, interoperable meaning able to talk to each other, will enable real-time, seamless interconnectivity among banks, mobile money providers, and other financial institutions. The system is designed to lower transaction costs, improve access to financial services, and support digital payments adoption, supporting a private sector export-led growth. Mr. Speaker, the new administration is fully committed to advancing an export-led growth model. A development budget of 0.93 billion will be proposed to support this agenda. Integral to this priority is unlocking global value chain opportunities for export markets. Mr. Speaker, we are determined to attract quality investments. And in this regard, government has completed the feasibility study on the establishment of commercial dispute resolution framework. Botswana currently has no court specially dedicated to resolving commercial disputes, and it takes an average of 660 days to resolve a commercial case. We will establish commercial courts to reduce turnaround time and resolve commercial cases in the 2025-26 financial year. Feasibility studies are in place to inform the administration's review of the Arbitration Act of 1959 during the 25-26 financial year and to address the challenges identified. Mr. Speaker, the World Bank released their Business Ready report in October 2024. The report, which replaces the flagship Doing Business report, assessed 50 economies on regulatory framework, public service and operational efficiency. This report highlights that Botswana performs moderately well in regulatory frameworks and operational efficiency, but identifies shortcomings in public service delivery, particularly e-services, as barriers to developing a robust private sector. And to address these challenges, the new administration is making significant progress in digitizing the work and residence permit system with the new digital platform, expected to go live before end of the current financial year. Mr. Speaker, the World Bank's Business Readiness Report of 24 identifies shortcomings in public service delivery, particularly e-services, as barriers to developing a robust private sector. We are working to digitize and improve processes to make it possible to do business more freely and easier in the new Botswana. Macroeconomic performance and outlook, the global economy. Mr. Speaker, the global economy has faced a series of shocks which have limited growth potential and prolonged recovery across most economic jurisdictions. The January 2025 World Economic Outlook update of the International Monetary Fund estimates global growth at 3.2% and 3.3% in 2024 and 2025, respectively. Among the major drivers of this growth are advanced countries, which are estimated to grow by 1.7% in 2024 and 1.9% in 2025. Growth in emerging markets and developing economies is expected to remain broadly unchanged at 4.2% in both 2024 and 2025. The sub-Saharan region is expected to grow by 3.8% in 2024, before picking up to 4.2% in 2025, while the SADC region is expected to grow by 2.5% in 2024 and 3.3% in 2025. This projected growth might be revised downwards if global risks heighten. The domestic economy. Mr. Speaker, consistent with global economic developments, the domestic performance remains subdued, directly impacted by the slump in the diamond market. And as a result, we find ourselves in a very tight fiscal place. Mr. Speaker, the economy grew by 3.2% in 23 compared to 5.5% in 22, reflecting lower than expected global demand for diamonds. In 2024, the domestic economy actually declined. It declined by 3.3% during the first 3 quarters of the year, compared to positive growth of 3.5% in the same period in 2023. The decline in GDP, Mr. Speaker, is attributable to 22.9% and 44.1% contraction in mining and diamond traders sectors, respectively. The non-mining sector grew on average by 4.2% in the first 3 quarters of 24, somewhat cushioning the economy, the domestic economy, against what would have been a much more significant decline. Our latest estimates project the domestic economy at minus 3.1% in 2024. In 2025, the economy is projected to grow below its potential at 3.3%. This growth outlook is premised on recovery of the diamond industry, which is expected in the latter part of 2025, and continued positive sentiments in the non-diamond mining sectors. Inflation. Mr. Speaker, inflation has significantly declined from its record high experienced in 2022. As at December 24, the inflation rate stood at 1.7% lower than 3.5% in December 23. Inflation is expected to remain within the objective range of 3 to 6% in the medium term, thereby ensuring price stability. Monetary policy rate. Mr. Speaker, monetary policy was conducted in the context of projected low inflation, which during 2024 trended within the medium-term inflation objective of 3 to 6%. This, Mr. Speaker, provided scope for maintenance of an accommodative monetary policy. Therefore, the Bank of Botswana maintained a monetary policy rate of 1.9% in 2024 and reduced the primary reserve requirement from 2.5% to 0.0% in December 2024 in order to address structural liquidity shortages and stimulate economic activity. The external sector and foreign exchange reserves. Mr. Speaker, the country has experienced a significant decline in foreign exchange reserves from a peak of 84.9 billion pula in December 2015 to 56.6 billion pula as of the end of 2024. The decline was mainly a reflection of the developments in the current account, largely driven by the diamond market. The current account balance recorded a deficit of 13.2 billion in the 9 months to September 2024, a significant deterioration from a surplus of 6.3 billion during the same period in 2015. Mr. Speaker, while the current level of foreign exchange reserves is above the international benchmark of about 3 months, it remains a major concern for this administration. To contextualize this, it means that with a sudden stop of capital inflow, Botswana will only be able to import all its non-diamond goods and services for only 7 months. This is low by our historical standards. However, it is worth noting that out of the 53.6 billion worth of foreign exchange reserves, government portion amounts to a disappointing low of 2 billion pula. This is worrisome, Mr. Speaker, and calls for significant belt tightening across all ministries and all state-owned enterprises. Risks to the macro-fiscal outlook. Mr. Speaker, our macroeconomic environment remains uncertain and subject to significant downward risks. The risk of intensified geopolitical tensions, climate shocks, and global trade fragmentation, driven by escalating tariff disputes between major economies such as China and the United States and the Eurozone, is also imminent. These, coupled with emerging risks of a new virus in China, could exacerbate supply chain disruptions, destabilize global capital flows, dampen prospects for recovery in China, which is a major consumer of our diamonds. Mr. Speaker, if this virus is not successfully contained, it could significantly affect trade and supply chains, derail growth and economic recovery, especially in countries with limited shock absorbers and lower buffers such as Botswana. Supply chains could also be disrupted by potential escalation of global trade wars, such as the one we see between the United States and Canada, reigniting commodity price shocks and triggering inflation pressures, requiring tight monetary policy responses. Mr. Speaker, at a time when our fiscal buffers are depleted, any global crisis, akin to the 2008-09 financial crisis or COVID-19 pandemic, will be very difficult to manage. And in the context of macroeconomic stability and rebuilding buffers, not only will this compromise the already dire situation, but it will also compromise the ability to implement agile policy interventions needed to strengthen resilience and improve competitiveness and achieve export-led growth, among others. Mr. Speaker, domestically, the main risks continue to stem from difficulties in the diamond sector. The materialization of this risk could disrupt Botswana's economic growth trajectory and government spending plan. Mr. Speaker, continuous deviations from fiscal consolidation plans while maintaining high levels of spending without due consideration of the uncertain prospects in revenue streams compromises our fiscal sustainability. Specifically, delays in fiscal consolidation threaten government's ability to rebuild fiscal buffers or to reduce the flexibility to respond to future economic shocks and increase the likelihood of sovereign credit rating downgrade. Mr. Speaker, with the limited options to draw from government savings, this puts pressure on public finances and increases the risk of debt distress. Policy intervention, therefore, needs to be steadfast and restoring fiscal discipline and, more importantly, rebuilding our buffers. Mr. Speaker, other risks to the macro-fiscal profile include climate-related challenges, such as extreme weather events, SOE risk due to fragmented institutional oversight and reporting arrangements, the under-execution of development budget, the ongoing challenges in our utilities industries, particularly water supply challenges in remote areas, and lower than expected energy supply due to recurring defects and maintenance works at Murupule Power B station, and inadequate capacity to appraise, prioritize, monitor, and evaluate development projects. These challenges have the potential to disrupt business operations with negative implications on overall economic growth. However, we are determined to put in place an effective management strategy of these risks to safeguard our fiscal sustainability and ensure the resilience against unforeseen shocks. Fiscal strategy. Mr. Speaker, any delays in restoring fiscal sustainability, fiscal consolidation, or delays in strengthening fiscal discipline undermine future intergenerational equity. Such delays also reduce the capacity to accumulate fiscal buffers, and limit government's ability to respond effectively to socio-economic shocks. Mr. Speaker, fiscal buffers are what cushioned the nation during the global financial crisis of 2008-2009 and during the COVID-19 pandemic. We survived both occurrences because of healthy balances. When the financial crisis hit, the balance on the government investment account, GIA, stood at 30.5 billion, and the total foreign exchange reserves were 68.6 billion. Likewise, when the first case of COVID-19 was reported in Botswana, foreign exchange reserves were 65.3 billion, while GIA stood at 18.3 billion. Today, as I stand before you, both the foreign exchange reserves and the GIA are at historical low levels and fast declining. On the other hand, the government's financial position has also been deteriorating as financial buffers are down and debt accumulated. Mr. Speaker, the government's net financial assets has fallen by more than 50% of GDP, from 31% of GDP in 2008-2009 to minus 24% of GDP by the end of November 2024. Mr. Speaker, this trend is unsustainable and is questionable from an intergenerational perspective, as it means we are consuming assets now rather than preserving these for future generations. We are determined to turn around these circumstances, and yes, we will turn around these circumstances. As an urgent response, I wish to reassure the people of Botswana that the new government remains resolute in committing to fiscal consolidation plans and rebuilding buffers. Our fiscal strategy hinges on effective revenue maximization, public expenditure efficiency, and implementation of a robust debt management strategy. Review of tax legislation, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the comprehensive review of tax legislation is progressing well and is now at an advanced stage. This initiative aims to modernize and simplify our tax laws, ensuring that our tax framework remains robust, efficient, and aligned with current economic realities. I am pleased to announce that we intend to present 3 bills to this Honorable House during the 2025-26 financial year. We intend to enact a new Tax Administration Act which aims to harmonize tax rules in value-added tax and income tax acts, reduce compliance time for taxpayers, and eliminate duplication in filing and paying of taxes. We will repeal and reenact the VAT Act to modernize and broaden its scope to encompass modern business practices. The plan is also to repeal and reenact the Income Tax Act to consolidate and modernize the way we address global business trends and international tax issues. Revenue maximization, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, we are determined to effectively generate, manage, and optimize financial resources. We will optimize existing revenue streams, broaden our tax base, and minimize inefficiencies and leakages in our system. Mr. Speaker, allow me to provide an update on some revenue maximization initiatives implemented by BRS. I must, however, indicate that the implementation of these initiatives relies on the completion of our intended comprehensive tax legislation review. First is the introduction of VAT on digital trade. The project aims to broaden VAT tax base within the rapidly growing digital economy and also seeks to promote fair taxation by ensuring a level playing field where both traditional and digital businesses are subject to the same tax obligations. The project is anticipated to be completed by September 2025. And second is developing the electronic VAT invoicing solution as part of improving revenue collection efficiency. This project will enable real-time tracking of VAT transactions, benefiting both businesses and BRS by enhancing compliance and ensuring accurate reporting. The planned completion date for this project is March 2026. Third, the development of a fiscal marking and monitoring solution, commonly known as track and trace, to enforce compliance, curb illicit trade in excisable goods, and safeguard government revenue. This solution aims to ensure compliance with excise regulations while minimizing disruptions to legitimate business activities and safeguarding consumers from illicit goods. The project will be completed by September 2025. Mr. Speaker, to further improve compliance and revenue collection, inspections on imported goods to enhance compliance at ports of entry have been intensified. Mr. Speaker, we are concerned with the bottlenecks that exist at Martin's Drift and Tlokwe border gates, and at how these bottlenecks are an impediment to smooth regional trade. We are in conversation with the South African authorities and hope to find long-lasting solutions. Mr. Speaker, the construction of facilities at Pioneer Gate is well underway and is expected to be fully completed by end of February 2025. These developments aim to facilitate smoother trade and enhance economic ties between Botswana and its neighboring countries. Mr. Speaker, to enhance our economic or our domestic resource mobilization, we propose a 1.5% increase for both the corporate tax and the last bracket of the personal income tax, the top earners. Even with this adjustment, Botswana's tax rates will remain among the lowest in the region. Currently, Botswana's tax to GDP ratio stands approximately 13%, below the African average of 16% and the SACU average of 20%. Mr. Speaker, to complement these measures, we will strengthen the capacity of BERS by investing in technology-driven solutions to improve efficiency, enhance compliance, and facilitate seamless online tax collections. These efforts are essential in ensuring a more robust and sustainable revenue base to support national development. Further, to facilitate trade and align to regional and international best practices, Botswana has requested for assistance from the World Customs Organization and the European Union Africa to automate advanced ruling program for the Botswana Unified Revenue Service. Advanced ruling allows the taxpayer to make a pre-arrangement with BERS regarding classification, applicable duty rates, including finding out if there are any preferential tax treatment for country of origin for the goods. Mr. Speaker, this gives the taxpayer some level of certainty on the would-be applicable duties on the goods to be imported and their treatment thereof. As a result, advanced rulings by nature are binding and promote harmonization and standardization of national treatment of goods passing through